Welcome to Business Talks with your host, Kent Adams. Join Kent now as he sits down with business and community leaders to discuss a wide range of important topics in business. Business Talks is brought to you in part by STCU and O'Brien Logistics. Now, here's Kent.
Well, welcome to Business Talks, and today the business is going to be about veterans. And speaking of veterans, today is the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Now, no, I wasn't here then. Some people think I was just a young person at that point. But it's a day that young men primarily, there were a few women who helped, but young men from across this country and around the world decided it was time to mount an aggressive attack on France and start the process to rid the Nazis of Germany. And way too many died. They knew what they were going into, and they helped make the world as it has been the last 75 years. And we say a thank you to them and to the families that lost loved ones at that time. I'm pleased today to have Nick Richardson from Greater Veterans here today. An appropriate day, I think, to talk about what we're doing and not doing for our veterans that have served. Fortunately, many more have lived through things like D-Day and Okinawa and all the other wars of the past and recent and even current, and so forth. And today we have more veterans coming home that are wounded because we've been able to save lives, and they need a lot of services. Before we get to that, you have a little bit of a history, service yourself, but also your family. Talk about that, would you?
Yeah, so if the camera can see this, this is my great-grandfather, grandfather, and myself when we first went in the military. In this picture,
and heck, you were actually good looking then.
Yeah, well,
I'm kidding.
You know, a lot skinnier and a lot less injuries. But,
let's not even go there. Okay.
Yeah. But point being is, you know, a lot of us in this country, regardless of political affiliation, religion, race, etc.,
Right.
have a history of service, and it's important that not just today, but every day we honor that and we remember that. And
Yes.
This is probably my most prized physical possession
I'll
I
bet.
have. It's hung in a place in my house where when I go to the bathroom, kitchen, living room, I see it.
You pass by it often.
Yeah, so I try and use it as a way of saying, you know, what would my grandfather and great-grandfather want? Fortunately, my grandfather is still alive.
Okay, good.
So he counsels me on some stuff.
I'll
and
bet.
Chews my butt when I need it. So
Yes.
it's kind of nice to have that still.
You know, I was not the big history buff and the greatest student back in high school and all that, okay? I'll admit that, and I've said that before. I love history now, and I've helped start a foundation for Ghost Town and a number of things over the years. And I so regret not capturing my grandfather as I sat on his ottoman, and he would sit in the chair, come home from work, and sit there and listen to his stories, being in the cavalry and everything else. And I wish I had documented them. Are you documenting some of that from your family?
Yeah, to a certain
Because
degree.
once they're gone, it's gone. All we have are the pictures, which are important.
Yeah.
But my advice and counsel would be pull out a tape recorder, pull out the phone, pull out the iPhone and do a video and capture some of that, because you can't go back once they're gone.
Well, some of it, you know, I guess this is maybe just a personal thing, doing what I do for the nonprofit,
Yes.
being as public about everything as I am. Some memories you want to keep just for you.
Yes.
So, I mean, you know, my kids get to hear the stories. I've obviously heard most of them 1,000 times, and every time I smile and pretend
Yes.
like it's a new time. But
Yeah.
some things you got to keep just for yourself too,
Right.
and I do that with my service. I mean, there's still stuff I seen and did that I'm just now starting to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, 10 plus years later to my kids.
Right. Well, tell me about Greater Veterans. What is the organization? Why did you start it?
So in 2012, I went through a 2-year period of I like to say depression, but it was very similar to PTSD or
Yes.
PTS, depending on what terminology you prefer to use on that. There's
Right.
kind of a mix on that. And I identified these core services that helped me get through my funk. There wasn't anything out there like it. There still isn't. That empowers you, the veteran, as opposed to going to the VA, popping pills,
Yeah.
doing all these.
Get a pat on the head and out the door you go.
Yeah, and so what our main purpose is eventually to open a vet center called the EVAC Center, every Veterans Assistance Center, that'll be
Okay.
open to the veteran, their family, their children, and certain events to the community as well to bridge that gap when we come back from whether it's deployment,
Yes.
retire, injured, etc. But when our time in service ends, it's almost like an Alice in Wonderland feeling. You know, you're wandering around, trusting everybody, trying to find a direction,
Yeah.
get your bearings back.
But you really are on your own.
You are, and until
Yeah.
you're registered in the VA, you don't have access to that. You know, and until you get to know what's out there, you might have moved here because of a woman. You might have got stationed here as your last duty and not been from here, and your wife might have liked the area.
Right,
God
right.
knows, a variety of reasons.
Yes.
And Eastern Washington's fortunate, according to the 2015 Census Bureau, we have the highest number of vets per household anywhere in the U.S., including Texas.
Wow.
So we average, you know, a high number of vets that live, reside, work,
Yes.
grow up, etc. here because of our scenery, because of Four Seasons, a variety of reasons.
Right.
And our community as a whole is getting better, but we can do more.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the services you provide would be what?
So when the center is open, we want to have a gym. We want to do a lot more with service dogs, and I'll come back to that in a second.
Okay, yes.
Concerts, holiday meals, events. Part of the reason with concerts, again, I'll circle back to that. Cafe, bistro, lounge rec area.
Okay.
Just so it's like, you know, a lot of people call it a VFW on steroids, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
more than that. It'll be self-funding for the most part.
Okay.
But the other thing it is, too, is it's like a safe place where you hang around veterans because we do believe the best person to help a vet is another vet.
I was going to say there's an advantage to be around folks of your kind, if you will, and
Yeah.
I mean that in a very kind way,
certainly.
that understand what you're going through, even if they haven't experienced it. They know other people who have. I mean, there's that
Well,
club, right?
Yeah, and so we want to, you know, sell a lot of vet products
Right.
there as well, so veteran businesses I personally support.
Right.
Anytime I buy anything from, like, say, Grunt Style, Black Rifle, Bison Union, any of the vet companies out there, on next to your name, I put Greater Veterans, so that
Okay.
it gets our name out there as a marketing thing, but it also shows them support, too, that
Right.
they know someone from this little town in Washington supports them.
How do we get a list of veteran-owned businesses? Through you? Or?
Yeah, I can put it out in an email.
Okay.
You
Would
know,
Would
Go
you
ahead.
send that to us?
Absolutely.
Because we'd like
Proud
to promote that. I think that's important. That's an easy thing to do, is
Yeah.
to go patronize veterans.
Well, and that's just, you know, and that's what I try and do, and I
Yeah.
try and promote that. There's a lot of good companies, but circling back to the center itself.
Yes,
So, as far as music goes, there's been significant research done by various groups throughout the U.S., vet groups and otherwise, that have found out music helps with traumatic brain injuries. And,
Okay.
you know, if you go to say a middle of the road type music like country, for example, which
Right.
is why we use it a lot. Very rarely at country concerts are people getting drunk and getting in fights.
Right.
It's mellow. No one's talking politics or anything
Right.
Divisive.
They're
it's
having
just,
a good time.
Yeah,
They're
it's-
enjoying the music.
exactly, and that's what it's about. So that's why we kind of tend to use music, and then we try and gear that even more so towards veteran musicians. Like we've had Rick Huckabee play for us. He wrote Muddy Water for Trace Atkins, who
Okay.
was a Wounded Warrior spokesperson for a long time.
Right, right.
Sailor Jerry, who's a Navy vet, good friend of ours. We've had her in town.
Wow.
We're in books that are in the Library of Congress. So we're reaching out, doing different things. I'm actually currently writing a book myself.
Okay.
We're doing a lot of things like that. And then when you get to the dog side of things,
Yes.
so currently a service dog runs $25,000 to $60,000 at a cost to the veteran. The VA does not cover a penny of that unless they use their disability pay for it.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm
$25,000 to $60,000
for a trained service dog.
Okay.
So what we had a meeting recently. You probably saw it with a congresswoman.
Yes.
And her and her staff were apparently unaware of that as well.
I'd never heard that.
So
Wow.
my plan next year when we buy a house, I'm looking for property and waiting for the market to drop because right now, as we both know, it's rather high.
Yes, it is.
I want to take my personal dog as well as another dog and get my own breeding program going that will allow me to give 2 dogs cost-free, one here and one on the east side of the U.S. to a veteran.
Good.
I'm working with some trainers to develop a program and curriculum to where we can get the dog basic obedience done in 8 weeks, get him with a handler earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is that puts the veteran in charge of the dog, but it also forces them to provide sweat equity so that there's no abuse of the animal. And the handler puts in the sweat so they understand how the trust and the relationship with the dog needs to happen.
Right.
And we're thinking right now with putting out a DVD, some help, some trainers giving us a certain amount of time free, and then getting some high-profile trainers and veterans involved in the video side of things. We're thinking we can come in at $4,500 per dog, and that wouldn't be entirely up to the vet to pay because I can.
Others will step up.
Well, others will step up, and there's a way for a veteran to reimburse us. Things like sharing our events, helping hand out flyers, working at our event if they're able. There's a lot of other ways that we can chisel that down to next to nothing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we're working on right now is doing stuff like that. We have friends that are authors. We're helping them get gigs. A friend of ours just signed a deal to help out Team Rubicon that we connected her with through another friend. And so we're trying to network nationally and help vets any way we can, even though our current funds are minor.
Because right now you're funding it, some of it yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I've spent, so in the last 4 years of doing this, I've spent well over $14,000 of my own money, and the wife's kind of curbed me back. So
yeah, I would guess. I can relate on that. Okay.
Well, certainly.
So sometimes when we have these passions, the wife also looks at the checkbook too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so
welcome to the real world, Nick.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, so we're trying to curb kind of how we approach things. Right now, what we're doing is we printed off a list through our advisor group that we set up to get vets from all over the U.S. that like what we're doing, that are well connected, that understand the bigger scheme of things.
Right.
We're using them like advisors. So what they're doing is giving us direction on certain things, what we think, and providing feedback daily. So what we decided to do right now is every veteran that's in Congress, the House or Senate, some I know, some I don't, we're sending out a short, sweet kind of teaser email, as I call it, to, like fishing, putting a worm on a hook and seeing who bites. Because in my opinion, if we can't help our own and get help from our own, then how in the heck are we going to blame the VA, or are we going to blame this guy or that guy or whoever? We need to hold our own and hold their feet to the fire a little bit, because they're the ones that should be helping.
Well, Nick, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the veterans and leadership and the politics and all of that involved right after this break. We'll be right back.
I'm Nikki Butler, and I'm a regional manager for STCU. My lunch buddy is Nicole.
I'm Brandy Schloss. I'm a regional manager at STCU. My lunch buddy is Angelina. She's grown up with me. I've grown up with her. To see her graduate will be a lot of fun.
Brandy and I have been lunch buddies since the girls were in second grade. It's great that STCU provides me with the opportunity to be part of Reach for the Future. We are committed to the children. We're committed to our community. I'm Nikki.
I'm Brandy.
And STCU is here for good.
O'Brien Logistics would like to invite you to try our local and regional transportation services. With Sprinter vans, lift gates, hot shot flatbeds, and expedited services, our people are ready to step in and help with your transportation needs. Our services are 24/7, 365, and we are trained and prepared to handle air cargo and Canadian shipments. Give us a call at 208-305-2311 or visit our website at o'brienlogistics.net. That's OBRIEN logistics.net.
welcome back. Kent Adams here with Nick Richardson, and we're talking about, well, this is a Business Talks program, but we're talking about the business of being a veteran, if you will, and all the things that go in, and your Greater Veterans program and what you want that to be. And we've got to get you past the point of where you're funding so much of it. Number one, to keep your marriage.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, yeah. But also, it's time for this community to step up, and we are a military town. Have always, I mean, look at the Lilac Armed Forces Parade and so forth. And our biggest employer in town is Fairchild Air Force Base, and this community comes out, even though you hear once in a while the progressives out there and the others complaining about one thing or another, but we still are a military community that respects those currently and who have been in the service. And so we've got to get it past where it's coming out of your pocket, because this is important. It's important to me, just as a citizen, that we help those who have stepped up to serve. Okay, and so let's work on that as we move forward. But you know, in town here, one of the big issues for the mayor's race, as you know, is the homeless issue, and the homeless issue really isn't about folks who can't afford a place to live and so forth. It's folks with issues, from drug issues to maybe being a veteran who's had PTSD and all of those kinds of things. And so it's beyond just, well, people been kicked out of their homes, even though housing is expensive now. Welcome to what's happened the last few years with the housing and the market and so forth. And now that the market's coming back, they can't catch up as fast as we'd like for reasonably priced homes and so forth. But how do you have any idea what percentage of the homeless population in our area are veterans? Have you heard? Is there?
So on that, I've heard numbers as low as 10% and as high as 80%. It depends what source
really?
You go to.
Okay.
In terms of a cure-all situation for that, there's not a cure-all,
no.
but there's a cure-most situation.
Right.
If you look at Kansas City right now, they have those tiny houses.
Yes.
Their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, I believe, is
Yes.
involved in that heavily. But they're providing these tiny houses that are serving almost like camps, where they're required to take drug tests, be clean, work
Right.
towards progression.
Right.
And we got all this land. I guarantee you go to City Hall, there's a surplus property book somewhere we
Right,
could be using
right.
it for. There's vacant buildings. There's 100 things we could do to move in that direction. There's
Yeah.
plenty of big real estate companies here, but yet we don't have real estate to do something like that. And I think that's sad, and it's part of the reason our motto with Greater Veterans is so simple. Something simple as helping veterans achieve greatness.
Yes.
A lot of the original board that we had when we first started hated that because they said it's too vague. It doesn't narrow down what that is. And I said, well, it's meant to, because if you think about helping a veteran achieve greatness, right?
It means different things to different people.
Exactly. You might want to be
Yeah.
a singer. This guy over here might want to go into business. Who knows?
Right,
So
right.
if we inspire and we promote goodwill and a good message, regardless of that motto, then
Yeah.
that'll get us further. That'll get us mileage. And that's how we fix this country is veterans, like I've said before on the show and I've said it other places, when you're in combat, you don't care if that person next to you is a male, female, gay, straight, Republican, Democrat, black, white, purple, where they're from, if they're a citizen or not. All you care is that rifle's pointing in the right direction
Right,
towards
right.
the enemy, and you both get your butts out of there.
Right,
And
right.
that's a message I think needs to be conveyed to the community better. And I failed at it myself at times, and I took a vow about a year ago through a different group to start doing a better job.
Yeah.
And we got to help veterans get where they want to be, not where society tells them, but where they
Well,
want to
but
be.
if we can make them healthy mentally and physically and get education or training for whatever it is they want to do, that really takes them so far, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I mean, like last night, a friend of mine who's in a band that's been to Spokane before from back east put out a post, for example, looking for a guitar player. I know one who's a veteran, a Marine Corps Air Force vet, who I won't say his name, he'll know who I'm talking about, but
Okay.
his PTSD came out a lot more since he hasn't been in a band. Music's a therapy for him.
Yes.
So I sent a link to him and her to contact each other. I haven't found out why, but for whatever reason, she didn't pick him. So he's a little upset. I'm going to talk to him again later today. But the point is, I'm out there using the connections I make to help veterans, which cost me zero.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, you know, it's just like the Army of 300. You know, they fought like hell, and they did a good job for having, you know, insufficient manpower. And I said, you know, look at what I do with limited funding. Imagine what I could do with proper funding.
Right. One of the things that concerns me is suicides. And someone told me, I think it was last week, there are something like 20 suicides a day by veterans. Is that close to the number?
So the VA, I think, officially is saying 20 right now. The veteran community has used the number 22 for a while now.
Okay.
Me personally, and this is going to sound callous, and I apologize, I don't care if the number's 1 or 10 or 22. It's too many.
Yes.
We need to do a better job at what we call in the military a buddy check, and a lot of us do it outside here. If you have a guy or gal on Facebook normally posting one type of post, and you see a curve in what they're posting and more negative, it takes you 30 seconds to send them a message, hey, are you okay? Call me if you need anything.
Right.
Because sometimes it's like an ice sculpture, people chiseling away. Eventually you get
There's
to
nothing
the warm
left.
body.
Yeah.
And if enough positive vibes get to that person, then eventually whatever's bothering them, they'll talk to somebody. I don't care if they talk to me.
Yeah, but they'll reach out.
Yeah, but they'll reach out. And there's a lot of things in my life I've experienced.
Yeah.
And certain things have helped me. I can't guarantee they'll help everybody. But if they help a majority and that net gets cast and gets most people, I'm willing to accept that. Like October, we helped a Navy veteran that was, you know, I won't say exactly what he did, but one of those special types, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
And we had Kristen Beck in town, and she asked us to donate our proceeds from that event to help him with bills until his new job started, because October is a tough month for SEALs.
Yes.
And we did that. I won't mention his name because I don't want to jeopardize his job, which is another reason why we stall sometimes at Greater Veterans, because we don't list every single name we help.
Right.
Because certain people are in certain jobs where that could cost them money and do more harm than good.
No, you never want to do that.
No, and I don't require them to mention us. I appreciate it. But anyway, so this guy, basically with $1,500 from our Halloween party, we pulled one from the 22, as we say, and the VA can't even boast that. So with $1,500, I saved a vet from himself.
Nick, how can people get in touch with you and help? Volunteer some time, but maybe most importantly, you know where to go and to get the help for these men and women and so forth. It comes down to dollars to have that behind you, to print the things, to keep the phone on, to all of those things cost dollars, okay? And it's got to be more than you and a couple of other vets that step up. How can we help, and how can people reach out to you?
So my phone number, first of all, I have no problem giving that out. That's 509-953-3515. That's my cell. So if I miss you, text me.
Okay.
Voicemail.
Right.
Our website is greaterveterans.com, and that's spelled GR, the number 8, TER, veterans.com. You can get a hold of me that way.
Right. You're on Facebook too.
I'm on Facebook. You actually got a picture of it printed there, so you could hold that up. That's my profile picture. So if you
that's a nice looking guy. Is that you?
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
That was when I had a suit that was fitted. But I've lost some weight recently thanks to the wife's diet plan. But and stress. But those are the easiest ways. And we like to, when we order our shirts, we like to send them out to random vets like a care package.
Good.
So we tuck in one of our challenge coins, a little handwritten note by myself, and a shirt. And most of the time they end up on Facebook. They send us a picture. But, I mean,
fun.
We do that to random vets that we see are down that we know nationally, and we'll just say, hey, send me your address and your shirt size, and boom, send it out. And that doesn't cost anyone.
Yeah, but it costs you. And
it
costs the organization.
It does.
There needs to be the dollars there to do that, because you could be doing more. So once again, how can people reach you?
My cell is 509-953-3515 or greaterveterans.com, GR, the number 8, TER, veterans.com. And It's probably the easiest way, and then of course we're looking at putting together a little short video to send out to sponsors and donors nationally. So video editing people, we could use you. So.
Yeah. Nick, thank you for what you're doing for our
it.
men and women that have served this country. It's important.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for watching. Give him a call. See what you can do to help. Thanks for watching Business Talks. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Business Talks is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksMedia.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Business Talks is brought to you in part by STCU and O'Brien Logistics. Ask Kent a question, recommend a guest, or hear this program again on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com.